Welcome to Podcast for Fun. This is a show where we dive into the passion, the process, and the journeys of creative storytellers as they bring their stories to life. I'm your host, Sophia, and today we are joined by a talented writer, director, and producer, Nick Johnson. Thank you so much for being here, Nick.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm already having fun.
So, let's start with you telling us a little bit about yourself and your career.
Sure thing. Yeah, so my name is Nick Johnson. I live in Calgary, Alberta. This is where I was born and raised. But then I was very lucky to live for 2 years in Scotland, in the city of Edinburgh, where I pursued my master's degree in comics and graphic novels. So there's a little hint right there as to what my main my background is really focused on. So I've been writing and drawing comics ever since I was a wee tyke, selling my own comics to friends and subscriptions when I was in junior high. And as a big surprise to me, after decades of making comics, I found that they taught me a lot about visual storytelling and performing through characters. And so when I ended up having this opportunity to get into animation as a storyboard artist and a character designer, I jumped at that and found that all that training worked really well in the world of animation. So I worked on and off in animation as I was teaching and as I was working on my comics, and eventually my relationship with a local studio led to me being a writer, director, and scariest of all, producer for a feature film called Sunburnt Unicorn, which was released in 2024. And I'm really excited to say that we premiered at Annecy in 2024 in competition. So, yeah, that was a huge whirlwind year, really wild. I'm still kind of coming down from that, even though it's been over a year since then. But yeah, that's a very truncated version of like what got me here today on this podcast with you.
Oh my God. Wait, how did you even what was the exact way that got you to be writing for a feature film? Because I feel like everyone's, working towards that.
Mm. Yeah, for sure. So, I had lots of experience writing comics for myself and writing comics for other people. And then when I say experience, I don't even mean like published experience. It was mostly like the indie scene, and independent publishers. But eventually, like I said, the comics got me the job as an artist on a 3D animated film that was being made here in Calgary. And because my relationship on that movie worked out so well, because I showed that I knew story, I knew character, the director was like, "Look, the movie is over. You're getting laid off. That's just how it works. But if a sequel opportunity pops up, let's work together again." And so I was very lucky that a couple years later, that's exactly what happened. They got funding to do a sequel, and the director of that previous one was like, "Look, I don't want to direct this one. So if you want to be on board, I'll let you write the script, and I will let you co-direct with me." And so, same kind of thing. I was like blown away. I was surprised. I was a little bit sick. I was like, "Can I handle this? This is a big jump." But I said yes, and in the span of a few weeks, I had written my first screenplay, written and finished it, which was wild. And the director read it, and he was like, "No, this is wrong. Start again." So a couple weeks after that, my second finished screenplay. But yeah, those are the steps that kind of got me to where I'm at now with a full-on solo director credit. And I've got a few screenplays under my belt now, and I'm just I think writing is probably my favorite part of the process at this point. So
Hmm.
yeah, having a ball.
What kind of which comic do you think got you that recognition?
I know the exact comic. So
And
I put out this anthology
mhm.
called Rocket Juice, where me and a bunch of my comic friends all did science fiction stories. And my submission for this anthology was called Space Ninja Monkey Face. And it was about a space courier who was trying to bring a precious package to this weird guy named Stitch Face, and ends up finding out that this package is a little baby. So it was a really goofy, bizarre, strange science fiction with lots of weird characters. But when I got hired to do this first job, the director literally said, "I want you to do what you did in Space Ninja Monkey Face. I want them cartoony. I want them goofy."
Mhm.
Um, and it was weird because the movie is like medieval. and Space
Mhm.
Ninja Monkey Face was sci-fi. And I was like, okay, so they're pretty different. So, the art didn't end up looking that similar, but I think what's important is that the comic showed that I had some chops in the character design department and that I could finish a thing. I think being able to show that you can finish things that you start goes a long way.
Oh yeah. Definitely. I feel like that's why some of the pictures in the Ottawa Festival was so impressive to me because so many people
Mm.
had like short films made already and I was like, guys, I only have my big fat thick script. What am I gonna do? Like that's so impressive. What was the first like professional comic you've ever made?
Yeah, what is that? The definition of professional, I guess, to me would be like someone paid you to do it.
Yeah.
Um, and I think so. I believe it was for Image Comics, and it
Oh.
was also an anthology series. It was called Dia de los Muertos, and it was created by Riley Rossmo, who's famous for
Mhm.
doing Proof. And I think now he does a lot of stuff for DC, like he's done Batman, Harley Quinn, Martian Manhunter.
Mhm.
But him and his co-writer basically did all of these Day of the Dead focused short stories. And Riley was teaching at the university I was going to at the time and was like, Nick, do you want your first coloring gig? And I was like, yeah, yes, please. And so I colored one of his stories for him, and that went so well that I ended up penciling another story for him in the second issue. It was not that good, but I learned a lot, and that's what matters. And I got paid.
Oh my God. I feel like Image is one of my dreams. I wanna, cause isn't it the place that had Invincible and The Walking Dead, like
Oh yeah,
amazing stories?
absolutely. I mean, Image is one of the great comic companies, especially for creating original content, outside of superheroes too.
Hmm. What kind of stories are you most drawn towards?
As a creator, as a viewer.
Both. Is it different?
Ah, Uh, Actually, that's maybe it is. I think as a viewer, I try to watch and read as much as I can that's different, because that will guarantee that I'm not kind of recycling the same stuff over and over in my own work.
Hmm.
So I mean, as a reader, like I'm really mixed up in the X-Men, and I'm gesturing like this because I've got X-Men posters and comics all beside me, inspiring me, and into Daredevil as well, especially in the 70s and 80s. But at the same time, I'm also a huge horror movie fan, so really into horror. But then I also really enjoy reading Marcel Proust, who is this like French writer from 1900 who did the longest novel of all time, which is like this very slow, meditative reflection on time and memory and French aristocracy and flowers. So all of those things I hope are those are the things I'm really engaging with right now. And so
Hmm.
part of the fun is pulling little bits and pieces out of those and bringing them into my own work.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and I think for me, if I'm thinking about the work I've been creating lately, so Sunburnt Unicorn, right now that comic series I'm writing, they're all really about like very strange, freaky looking characters who feel rejected, who feel abandoned, who are now trying to find some purpose or meaning in life. And that seems to be the common thread. And sometimes that means I'm doing a horror story, sometimes it means I'm doing science fiction, or even like family surreal films like Sunburnt Unicorn. But that does seem to be the common thread. Messed up people, both physically and maybe a little bit mentally, who are really just trying to find some meaning and some purpose and some compassion in the world.
So what kind of examples do you have of other works influence? Well, like not like other works, but you say you take like nits and pieces, right? Everyone does that.
Hmm.
That's not copying, guys. That's just a little I do
No.
that. So
Yeah.
what would you say is like your most influential work? Like the work that influenced you the most in your writing or in your creative process?
Um, I could probably pull from those same examples, just so I'm not spreading too wide of a net here, but like
Yeah.
one thing that you worry about is like, let's take X-Men as an example. So if I was obsessed with just X-Men and I wanted to do my version of it, I could be like, oh, instead of Storm, I'll create a character named Tempest. And instead of Wolverine, I'll create a character named the Badger. Instead of Cyclops, I'll do
Yeah.
Triclops, Like it's like, okay, I think I know what you're doing here, Nick. So what I did is I tried to break down what it was about X-Men that I was really resonating with.
Hmm.
And it was the idea of a bunch of outcasts who find safety together
Hmm.
and who united, they are strong enough to confront the world. The other thing I liked is that you have a huge cast of characters and all of their histories are intertwined. And the fun of it is watching this found family bounce off each other, the dynamics of those characters. So I pulled that out and I was like, I'm going to make a new story, this new comic, and it's not going to be superheroes, but it's going to be about a cast of characters on the outside looking in who are bouncing off of each other and just watching them react.
Hmm.
So Marcel Proust is the French writer, and his entire basic concept is like, where can we find happiness in life? What is the meaning of life? So I was
Hmm.
like, what if this group of monsters that I'm writing, that's their mission? How do we find the meaning of life? So instead of the mission being like defeat the bad guy and blow up his base, it's like, what is the meaning of life? How do we find it?
Hmm.
And then the last piece was horror. So I just reread Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and it's so good, and it's so beautiful and moving and full of dread. Um, but there's a moment, I feel like I'm talking a lot, but I'm almost done, I swear.
No, but well, you're on a podcast. Where else are you going to talk about then?
Okay, just do miming. Um, there's a moment in Frankenstein
Uh-huh.
that is the catalyst for the whole book, and it's when the monster first appears to Frankenstein, the creator, and he looks at the monster and he sees something he doesn't understand, and he sees something he's afraid of. And instead of offering his hand and saying, I will guide you, I will teach you, he runs and he never looks back. And so it's this moment of rejection and this moment of abandonment that fuels all of the terrible things that happen in that book. So I thought about that moment, and each of my characters has that moment. They've been abandoned by the person that made them, and now they're left to ask, what do I do now? What do I do next? And they all have different answers. Some of them are
Mhm.
like, oh, we're going to probably die tomorrow. So let's drink, let's love, let's do whatever we want. Other people are like, no, it's about helping people. Other people think it's about fame. Other people think it's about love. So they all have different attacks for what they think will bring them peace and happiness. And you kind of just watch them navigate the world. So yeah, all of those things put together into something that now I hope is very original on its own, but cobbled together from three very different sources.
You don't real Do you ever put yourself into your characters?
Yeah. I mean, okay, let's get a little bit personal. So
Mhm.
I was raised very religious. I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. And when you're raised like that, you have a certain standards that you have to meet, and if you don't
Yeah.
meet them, that you will be kicked out of the organization, and everyone you knew, your community, and your family will shun you and reject you. And that's exactly what happened to me when I was in my 20s,
Mhm.
and I was left on that journey. I was like, if I don't have that, what do I have? And probably the next 10 or so years was me trying different things, Maybe
Mhm.
this will bring me happiness, maybe this will give me purpose. So that journey is very much baked into this new comic idea. And I almost feel like each and every one of these characters, and each one is kind of like this unique mad science monster, but each one is a part of me
Mhm.
trying to solve that question. Yeah.
The question of what is your purpose in life?
What is my purpose? What is the meaning of this life? Because we're told the meaning of life by many people,
Hmm.
many organizations. Um, But really, it's about finding out for ourselves and finding that in ourselves, which is a journey. And in
Hmm.
10 years, I'll probably have a different answer than I do now, but that's part of the fun. That's what keeps it alive, right?
So what's your answer right now?
Oh, well, you're asking me what my meaning of life is and my purpose?
Yes.
I think to me, it's creating stories that remind people that they are not alone, that there are others who are suffering and others who are experiencing joy in this world. So even if for one moment someone reads something I do and they feel connected or they feel seen,
Hmm.
that's a good moment to me. And teaching at the university, teaching art and design is so fulfilling because it's, my own wants and my own needs take a back seat to this idea of supporting the next generation of voices and the next generation of artists. And that gives me a lot of purpose and a lot of joy as well.
Do you do anything to make sure that, your classes are entertaining? Because there's sometimes there's a boring teacher sometimes. But since you're a creative person and you're a teacher, do you do anything to keep your, I guess, class engaged?
I think part of it is working on my public speaking skills so that when I deliver a lecture, which is inevitable, there's lectures for sure, they are engaging,
Mm.
and I try to treat it like a performance where I'm looking at my audience, I'm asking them questions, I'm trying to keep them entertained. But I also share a lot of work that I've done in
Hmm.
the hopes of like sh peeling back the layers and showing the process.
Peel the onion.
Yeah. Peel the onion, yeah. Because, even when you're in art school, there's this kind of lie that everyone believes, and that art is magic. There's just like talented people who are just
Hmm.
great artists. But in actuality, it's problem solving. It's layers and time of you trying things and failing things and having ideas and coming up with solutions. And so my attempt as a teacher is to show that to the students so they
Hmm.
can see all of the trials and the successes that led to a finished product.
Hmm. Do you know that you wanted to be a teacher or a writer when you were younger? Like, what was the point that made you go, okay, this is my life. I'm gonna make comics now.
I remember like grade six, I had an existential crisis because like
At
I
the
was
grade
always,
6?
yeah, 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 and
Oh, I was like playing Roblox at that time.
yeah, there's room for both. There totally is.
True.
But at the time, I was drawing a lot.
Hmm.
And that was one of the things I learned as a kid. I was like, if you draw good, people will talk to you. So I was like, okay, I'm an artist, whatever that means. But
Yeah.
then I got really into Jurassic Park because it had just come out. And so I
Oh,
read books by the author Michael Crichton, which were way over my head, way too adult for me. But I was like, oh my God, I want to be a writer. And I was like, what am I going to be? Am I going to be an artist or am I going to be a writer?
both.
And then in junior high, I fell in love with comics and I was like, holy shit, I can be both. So that was kind of how that ended up happening. Yeah.
And did you have like a plan from there?
I've never had a plan. Like when you said you had a 10-year plan when we first uh
Yeah,
jumped
yeah, I
on, I
did.
was like, whoa, that's amazing. Like to show that kind of ownership of your life and to think ahead is such an important quality to have. Because we can get through life rudderless and just life will just carry us down this river. That's fine, and we'll have a good time. But to show some direction and intention is really important, especially for creative types. For me, it was just a matter of like I was just always making something. So making
Mhm.
my own comics, making my own movies, writing my own stories. And I kept doing that even after I graduated from high school. I kept doing that when I got a real job working at warehouses or working in a photocopy center or working at an oil company until the point when I was just like, I am miserable
Mhm.
and I am 27 and I don't own anything and I don't have a family. What's holding me back from actually chasing this dream for real and really committing to being an artist and a writer? And
Yeah.
that's when I quit my job and took a student loan and went back to university. And it was the scariest thing I've ever done. And it was the smartest thing I've ever done. And I'm so glad I made that choice because it directly led to where I am today.
So you basically kind of had a Quentin Tarantino moment. Do you know how Quentin Tarantino became a director?
I don't actually know.
Well, it's not like how he became, but
Hmm.
he started his journey when he was like, I think he was like the same age as you, or maybe just a little bit younger, it's like a year or two. Like he was definitely in his mid-20s, and he was working at a uh, video like renting store, right?
Oh, so cool. I
And
worked at one of those.
And he was like saying he was in this buffer in his life because he could talk about movies and watch movies, which he loved, but he wanted to become a director, but nothing was like, there's no urgency for him to push himself to become a director. Until one of
Hmm.
his friends told him, like, you know, um, when I was your age, I had friends like me. And then one day you're gonna be like me, and then you're gonna have talk to younger people like yourself. And you're just gonna be like in this video store forever if you don't do anything about it. And then something clicked in him, and literally that night he thought about it. He's like, I don't want to be there forever. I want to do something with my life. And he wrote like script and he moved and he like quit and everything. And now he's a
Whoa.
director. I mean, that's a dream, right? That's the dream
It is the
life.
dream. Yeah.
So did anything like that happen, like an event that caused you to go like what brought that urgency into your life?
Hmm. I think part of it was like looking ahead and asking myself, like, can I survive in this world of working these day jobs in offices? You know, what does my life look like in 10 years? Can I stay here and live? It's like, yeah, I
Mm.
can live a life and support myself, but what will happen to my
My brain.
mind, to my spirit, yeah, to my
Brain.
soul? Um, and there was another thing that happened is like in my kind of journey to figure out what life was about and what mattered, I fell off a cliff of sorts and my life descended into this like party all the time, stay out all night, like hung over at work all the time. Which was very fun for a while, but I kind of made a mess of my life. And I ended up on the other side being like, why are you making these choices? Um, you've alienated yourself and you've kind of ended up in this place where nothing means anything. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's when I started really reading a lot more, like reading contemporary literature, books that really meant something and tried to change me and give me a better outlook on life. And that was about the same time that I decided to go back to school. So I think all of those kinds of things combined, um, like in one respect, I could consider it a brave choice to like abandon my job and just go to school as a 27-year-old. But also, I was just like at my wit's end. I was desperate. I was like, maybe it was a bit careless to just be like, I'm going to take out a loan and go to school. I just couldn't imagine working like that anymore at those jobs. And I was like, I at least have to try, I have to
Mm.
try.
I could not agree more, but also like I decided that when I was 17. That's just kind of funny.
Everybody's journey is different.
You know,
Like, yeah.
sorry, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say I'm a bit of a late bloomer. Like I was very sheltered growing up, and I didn't really be a teenager until I was in my 20s.
Mm.
Um, and so in some respects, it slowed me down, and I feel the sense of urgency. But
Yeah.
now I just know that everybody goes at their own pace and their own time, and when it's right.
You know, I feel like a lot of people have like dreams and visions that they want, but there's no,
Mm.
and then but a lot of them also don't strive for it. So what do you think is the most common thing that stops people from, I guess, chasing their dreams?
I do notice that when I was younger and when young people say that they're into art or they're into
Mm.
writing or something, generally their parents or people a little older will be like, how much money can you make from that?
Oh
Like,
yeah.
do you think you're good enough? You can be your job. And so they instantly attach this monetary value to it and say, if it's not going to be your job, there's no point in doing it.
Mm.
And I think that kind of mentality towards art and creativity is part of what stagnates a lot of people. They're like, well, if it won't make me money, what's the point? But really, I think we should all be making things, regardless of whether or not it's going to be our job or if we think it's going to make us famous, because that act of creation is cathartic for one. It's releasing, it's freeing, it's exciting, and it's joyful. Um, so I think if we can ignore those voices and those comments about like, will this get you famous? Will this get you money? Will this get you rich? And just make for the pure joy of it, I think that will set us off on the right foot. And wherever we end up after that, who knows? But at least you'll have this thing to guide you. Um, I think another big obstacle too, and one I see a lot in students and one that happened to me, is my first idea that I wanted to do as a comic was a 300 issue superhero epic that I had plotted out every single issue. And
Damn.
oh yeah, it was big. And when I showed it to this, there was an older comic book writer I was working with for a while, and he was kind of editing my stuff. He was like, Nick, you're never gonna finish this. Like, do you know how it would take you like 20 years to finish this book, and you've never even finished a 20-page story before? You're pretty much making sure you will fail. And so what I find is we've all created these huge worlds in our head that we love. And if it's our first project, we're dooming ourselves to be crushed under the weight of it, you know? So my advice is the same to everyone, and that's start small. Make a one-page comic, write a short story. Every time you finish something, you will learn something from it. But if you never finish a thing and it's never done, you'll never learn. So
No, that's
abandon perfectionism, abandon that giant idea for now. You'll come back to it. But yeah,
was that a lesson you learned from your own experience?
yeah, absolutely it was. And even now I have like other ideas that are so massive that I'm like, I'm not ready yet. I'll get to you soon, but I have to do smaller things and train on other projects before I can dive into them.
That's so funny you say that because I kind of did the complete opposite.
Mm, mm,
I dived into
good.
a 100 episode webtoon, which is still work in production, but I
Uh-huh.
did finish that 100 episode. I just need people to color
Hell
it, you
yeah.
know?
Oh, but it's
So
done?
yeah, it's done. It just needs to be
That's
colored.
amazing.
My colorist quit
Wow.
on me, so I need to find someone who can replicate their art style. And in between
Mm,
that, I went to like festivals and pitched my stuff and worked on more scripts. So it's like a lot of side quests. Well,
yeah.
none of them are side quests, let's say. They're all their own quests, like all main quests that I need to unlock eventually. But
Hmm.
like technically it's done. I just didn't realize it because I did so little every single day that when I finished, I was like, I'm
Oh.
done. You know that feeling? You're like, wait, this is my whole life for like the past 3 years. What do you mean it's done?
Whoa.
You know?
Wow, that's commitment to the project. Well done.
Thank you. Since
That's
I was
rare
15.
quality.
And I just recorded a documentary because someone read it and they're like, can I make a documentary out of you? I'm like, you wanna make a documentary out of me?
Sure, whatever. Go
Of
for it.
course. I'll be humble, I promise. Ah, it was like a
Yeah,
student documentary, so it wasn't the best, but it's okay. I was still
fair.
excited.
Yeah.
But anyways, so do you think you'll ever go back to any of those big ideas though? Like when do you think you'll be ready for it? If you have, because my personal opinion,
Mm,
and take it with a grain of salt, because you have way
for
more
sure.
experience than me. But I feel like if you want to make something and it's big, I feel like you should just try to start making that instead of working on small things. 'Cause I feel like then you're kind of measuring yourself and the the what was it? The imaginary number thing, and you like do more and more, but every time you get closer to it, you never actually reach there's like a math thing about that where you never actually
Oh,
reach the your goal. You just like the amount you go forward gets smaller and smaller, but you never actually reach the goal. So I feel like that's what's gonna
whoa.
happen if you just keep telling yourself, "Oh, just make small projects, never make the big one." But what's your thoughts on that?
I think you got to level up every time. So if you're doing
Mhm.
small projects forever, that's going to happen, I think.
Yeah.
But so the book I'm writing right now is a 12 issue miniseries with a cast of like how many you fuckers are in there? Oh, sorry. Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah, you
I
can.
should ask that. Okay. There's like at least eight main characters in the book. So I was like 12 issues, eight characters. That's going to be like 200 pages or so. So that
Mhm.
was kind of the next logical step for me in the realm of comics.
Yeah.
For the feature film, writing and directing and producing was the next step up. So
Yeah.
I know that, and whatever projects I take on after, to keep me interested, I need to challenge myself, you know? And I think the other thing you have to consider too is like, how are you going to support yourself while you do this? Because some ideas are so big that like, if you don't have a budget for them, it's just not conceivable to move
Uh,
forward on it, right? We all got to
yeah.
eat. If I'm working with an artist, I'm going to make damn sure they're paid to do their work. Um, so those complicate things, but they're important.
How do you keep yourself motivated throughout like a long project?
Mm, I think key for me is to break that project down into tiny little bite-sized pieces. Not
How do
you?
No, I do the same thing.
Oh,
Like
you
they're
do?
like,
Okay,
okay.
okay.
Like I literally say if I feel bad, I'm like, okay, I'll just do 5 panels today. And then
Hmm.
I'll do something else. And I'm working on like 5 projects and I do like a little bit of all of them every single day.
Mm.
And I have
Yep.
artists working with me. They give me accountability because I'm like, God damn it, I have to send something to them today. But I'll do it, you
Good.
know.
That's helpful.
Do you have
Um,
like any ambitions you're working towards right now?
I mean, to be able to finish writing this comic series will be wonderful. This is selfish, but like as a kid, I always wanted to have my name on a book as like the author, the writer, and I haven't gotten that credit yet. So, in the world of comics specifically,
Yeah.
so I'd really like to get a comic actually published by a real publisher, not just an independent one like myself. Um, and I thought when I was done directing the feature film Sunburnt Unicorn that I would never direct anything again. Like I was so burnt out from teaching and directing. But I mean, yeah, we met last September because I was pitching new ideas, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
obviously I got over it. Now I'm just really stoked to do another movie because I learned so much about like pacing and character and atmosphere and tone. Like I just can't wait to do another movie that's bigger, that's better, that's more engaging. Because I just learned so damn much. So, movie number two or TV show, I'm open to that. After I was talking to some of the studios, they were like, these ideas are better as a show. So I'm like, sure, I'm open to it. Working on a 12 issue comic series is very much like working on a serial television show. So I feel like I'm honing those skills at the same time, which is nice. So I'm also trying to like be a live action director. So like over the last 3 years, I've been doing the 48-hour film challenge here, where you have
Mhm.
48 hours to make a movie from scratch. And the last 2 years, me and my crew have won the audience award and the jury award for the movies we've made. And so we're like, let's make a movie for real. Let's make a short film. We're going to shoot it this summer. We wrote the script already. We're really excited about it. And, I love animation, but really my first love is, cinema. Like I would love to get into live action. So I'm not rushing myself, but pie in the sky, would love to try it.
What was it like fe directing your first film?
It, the part that like I was a co-director on a movie where it was someone else's characters, and I was a co-director so it was really easy for me to be like, open up a shot. Does this communicate well? Yes. Does it work? Yes. Keep moving. I wasn't a perfectionist about it. I was very much like
A
a
greatest?
hired hand. Well, what's that, sorry?
No, I remember James Cameron said, "Don't be a perfectionist, a greatest," or you're like a greatest, not a perfectionist.
Oh, ooh, okay. Well, I don't want to argue with James Cameron. Uh, he'll yell at me. Um, yeah, it was easier for me to kind of just do my job and go home and all was well. But with
Okay.
Sunburnt Unicorn, I cared so much about the characters and I was trying to create a movie that was very emotional. And I was like, if it's gonna be emotional, it's gonna grab people, this needs to work. And
Hmm.
so that love and that care really made it difficult to work on because we were very low budget. We were very small team. And I got to pick a lot of the people I worked with who were tremendous, but there's also a few people on the crew that you did not pick to work with who do not match your level of enthusiasm or work. And so, all of that mixed together, it was really hard for me to find joy working on the movie, especially because I was teaching at the same time. And I was talking about working 16-hour days, 7 days a week for almost 2 years. And that took a serious toll on my mental health and my physical health too. Um, so it's not all fun and games working in animation. But in the end, we have this finished thing, this little baby who grew up and is now like wandering the world on their own and was released on Amazon Prime this very week. So people can actually rent it and buy it now if they want. So, um, yeah, the kids out there now living their own life. And I think back about how hard it was, but there were still some beautiful moments like getting to work with Pilk Silk. So Pilksilk are the composers for the film, two Inuit sisters who did an entirely vocal performance for our score. And hearing their music and working with them was one of the best moments of my life. And all of the hard stuff was worth it for that working relationship and to hear what they made. So, yeah, long answer to a short question, but hills and valleys, yeah.
That's amazing that it got on like Amazon Prime. God damn. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, it still feels surreal to be out there, but yeah, very cool.
So you haven't yet like got your like 100% your own story out. Not quite yet,
I think
basically.
Sunburnt Unicorn was all mine, which is what made it so special. But
Yeah.
this comic I'm working on now, I think we have a good shot of getting it picked up by a publisher when it's done. And
Hmm.
that would be a big checkbox for me to have that done.
That's surprising to me because to me, I feel like the route is usually you get a comic, you get it published, and then you get it animated. Not you have an animated feature. Let's take a few steps back and make a comic that's published.
Yes,
You
that
know?
is strange, isn't it?
It is to me
Yeah.
because my goal right now is like, oh, comic published, feature animation, you know?
Hmm.
So you just jump right in.
Yeah. See, if I had stubbornly clung to the idea of becoming a famous comic book artist and writer first, I would have said
Yeah.
no to a lot of great opportunities. And my path was never a straight line. It was this. But every time I took one of those side quests or diverted, I learned something that I brought to my next thing. Like the first time I worked on an animated film, I storyboarded the whole thing myself. It was like 3,000 boards in 3 or 4 months. And uh, then I went back to work on a comic, and all my comics got better. My performances were better, my storytelling was better, and I was like, holy shit, they work so beautifully. Like every time I jump from one medium to the next, it just makes that other one better. So I'm really now I'm open to it. I'm
Mhm.
so much more open to whatever doors are there and whatever opportunity comes my way that I'm taking some pressure off of myself.
Okay, I have a question for you then.
Hmm.
What's something that you've done that you feel opened the most doors for you?
Hmm. I mean, I think hands down it has to be the movie because Sunburnt Unicorn showing at Annecy was like a worldwide stage. And that year we got to go to like Fantasia, the Montreal Genre Festival, and show there. We went to BC, we went to Ottawa, we premiered here in my hometown in Calgary, which was so amazing. It was like friends and family were all there. But
Mhm.
like the movie didn't take off as much as I wanted it to. Of course, you want your first movie to be like a world-shaking event, but we were on tour with Flow. Flow won the Oscar. Flow is unique. Flow is a timeless movie. Um, but what it did do is like all of those people I met along the way at all the festivals, some of them might be people I work with, some of them are animators working in BC who I never would have met
Yeah.
before. All of these were connections for friendships or future working relationships that I never would have gotten if we hadn't made that movie and if we hadn't told our producer, like, hey, we're taking this on the festival circuit or else we're not going to make it. We
Mhm.
had to stand up and say that. And yeah, like I don't even know what doors are open yet. But when I went to Ottawa, being able to say I was here last year with a movie, it got people perked up. Like when you tell that to a studio, once again, they're like, whoa, this guy has ideas, but he also made a thing. He finished a thing. He was at Annecy. Like doors are opened, but I'm not sure which ones yet. We'll see.
No, that sounds like big doors are gonna open up to you. I'll be like, oh
Yeah, we'll
my
see.
God, that movie. I know the person who made it. I interviewed them. That'd be so cool,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Okay, I have one final question for you then, Nick.
Hit me.
What's one advice you give to the aspiring storytellers watching this right now, people who also want to become creatives themselves?
So I know this goes against what you said, but I do think if you start real small, if you don't have too much experience it's important to develop your storytelling skills. And the easiest way to do that is to challenge yourself with a short story or a one pager, a one page comic, and slowly build up those skills. And after a while, you'll be really confident and you'll work up to those bigger stories. But all of that kind of means nothing if you're not out there meeting people and talking to people and
Mhm.
being a part of your really small creative community in whatever city you live in to inspire one another, to give each other feedback, to become better creators, and then starting to branch out, go to film festivals, go to animation festivals, go to comic festivals, and not networking, but just finding people who are like you, people who are excited to talk about their work, people who are excited to learn,
Mhm.
and that will enrich your practice and your life so much. And it will be the thing that ends up getting you the jobs you want. So, yeah, those are my two little bits of advice, I would say. And yeah, just make sure you're working on work that you enjoy, that's fun, maybe that freaks you out a little bit. Because I remember,
Oh,
I remember when I was in the recording booth listening to the actors do Sunburnt Unicorn, when they
mhm.
were reading the grand climax full of emotion about like what Frankie is afraid of. I felt like they were all looking at me in the booth and
Mhm.
being like, what's wrong with this guy? And I felt like I just like pulled out my guts and I was like, look at everybody, look at my guts. This is me. This is who I am. This is what I'm afraid of. Which was very vulnerable and very scary. But I think sometimes you have to show that to create
Mhm.
work that really resonates with people. So yeah, don't be afraid to put a little bit of yourself in your work.
Guys, being cringe is being free. Okay, I just saw a
Hell
song. It's
yeah.
true.
Hell yeah. Don't be afraid to be cringe. I'm pretty sure I was cringe once or twice on this very interview.
I don't think once or twice for me. I think like sometimes I look back and I'm like, oh, I can't believe I said that. But that's what makes you unique, you know what I'm saying? Like people
Exactly.
don't like me, guys, or
Be
whatever that.
bold. Be
Exactly.
bold. hmm
And where can our awesome listeners find your work?
Yes, so you can go to nickjohnson.ca, nickjohnson.ca. And there you'll find links to my comics, my illustration, my animation, even some of the film work that we're slowly working on. And then if you want to know more about Sunburnt Unicorn, you can go to sunburntunicornfilm.com.
Hmm.
And yes, please, if the movie sounds interesting to any of you listeners, this surreal family film that's like an acid trip through the desert about a kid
Oh
with a piece of
yeah.
glass stuck in his head, you can rent it and buy it on Amazon Prime right now.
Yeah, guys, give him the money. Um,
It doesn't
Money
even go to
is
me.
to
I just need
somebody.
eyeballs. I need your eyeballs and your
Exposure.
hearts. Yeah.
Exactly. If you watch it, you'll feel your heart being pulled, and then you might cringe. But like, actually I didn't watch it, but I'm not saying like in a good way. Because when something cringes, it means it's being itself. I don't know. I
Yeah.
just made that up on the spot. But yeah.
That's great. I'm not afraid of it. That's good.
Well, that's a wrap for today's episode of Podcast for Fun. Thank you so much, Nick, for joining us and sharing your incredible insights. That was a lot of fun. I love talking about movies and
Me too.
comics and whatever. Everything in the entertainment is fun, in my opinion.
Absolutely. It's all stories, right? Thank you so
Yes.
much for having me. I had such a great time talking to you, Sophia, and I look
Yes.
forward to seeing you again at a festival soon, I'm sure.
Or, we might have another podcast. We never know. We never know.
I'm
Well,
down.
ooh. And to our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with fellow storytelling enthusiasts. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like me to explore, you can drop them in the comments or connect with me on any of my social medias at Podcast for Fun. Until next time, keep creating, keep dreaming, and we'll see you on the next episode of Podcast for Fun. That's it,
Goodbye,
Nick.
everyone.